6 hours in Nepal. All right, US President Donald Trump has said that he will soon know if Hamas is serious about engaging with his peace plan. He added that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is on board to end the bombing in Gaza. Trump warned that Hamas faces complete obliteration if it chooses to remain in power instead of accepting the deal. Meanwhile, the United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio has also commented on the implementation of the Gaza deal. He stressed that 90% of the deal is finalized and that they are working on the logistical issues. Rubio also said that Hamas, in principle, has agreed to the peace plan and to the proposal outlining what happens after the war. However, Rubio also stressed that this cannot be considered the end of the war, as some work remains to be done. He added that Hamas and Israel are very close to a deal where there will be no hostages held by Hamas. However, the Israeli government has clarified that its military retains the right to continue operations in Gaza for defensive purposes. A spokeswoman stressed that there is no ceasefire in place, only a temporary halt in certain bombings. She confirmed that Israeli negotiators will travel to Egypt tonight, with talks on the release of hostages expected to begin. Let's listen into what spokesperson had to say.
Now, this development comes with talks that will be taking place in Egypt, as the Prime Minister instructed the team, led by Strategic Affairs Minister Ron Dermer, to finalize the technical details of the release of the hostages, a priority and first step of this deal. Now, the team will be leaving tonight with plans for talks to begin tomorrow. And I want to reiterate, these are technical talks.
Dan Perry, World Affairs Analyst, is joining us from Tel Aviv at this point in time. Dan, appreciate you joining us. Well, 90% of what this deal constitutes has been agreed upon by Hamas. But considering the history that both the parties have had with each other, which is predominantly of distrust, how certain can the world be that this is going to lead to lasting peace?
In no way certain, not at all certain, and completely and totally uncertain. This talk of 90%, basically nonsense. It comes down to whether Hamas agrees to the 1 out of 20 points that calls upon it to disarm. There are plenty of people who will swear that there's no way that can happen because no jihadist group has ever agreed to disarm, and that runs counter to their fanatical DNA. And I can't dispute that. It would be remarkable if Hamas really did agree. On the other hand, the circumstances are remarkable. Gaza has been laid waste. So many people have died. Despite the claims of genocide by Israel, the genocide could end in a split second if they agreed. So it's not exactly genocide. And yet they're taking their time. I cannot predict if they will, and I think much depends on the degree to which the Arab countries, and in particular Qatar, will lay down a law with what remains of Hamas and will force them to. Remember, Qatar just received a very significant sweetheart deal from the Americans, codifying a sort of NATO-like commitment to Qatar's defense. And I have to think that was down payment for precisely this moment when Qatar has to twist arms with Hamas to the breaking point and get them to agree to that one thing. The other aspects of the 20 points are all important, of course. And it's true that they may be such that agreement can be reached, because Hamas does agree to hand over the formal keys of Gaza to a technocratic Palestinian government. They agree, to the Israeli pullout. They agree to the gradual Israeli pullout. They agree that all the hostages will be released in one go during the first 48 or 72 hours. Meaning that they have to put their faith in implementation. But the one thing that is critical is disarming. One can be extremely skeptical, and without that, there's no deal. Israel, I am sure. Of this, we can be certain. If they don't agree to that one thing, then there is no deal. And that's when Trump's texted reply to CNN today becomes relevant, where he says they will be obliterated. Israel will go into Gaza City and the rest of Gaza formally occupied, probably establish a military administration, over 2 million Palestinians. That is a terrible scenario for everyone. It'll end the war for Gazans, but it'll be under Israeli occupation. There will be a prolonged insurgency with the remnants of Hamas. there will be more death for sure, and more isolation for Israel. I have no doubt that elements in Hamas want precisely this. October 7th and its diabolical savagery was engineered to bring about this response by Israel, and I think much of that Israeli response was ill-advised and there were better alternatives, but it's understandable. And in a way, Israel walked into Hamas's trap, and I think the full walking into the full trap will be if they establish a formal and prolonged military occupation of all of the Strip.
Dan, stay with us. There's more to talk about. Well, Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz says